Australia's push to ban children under 16 from social media has taken another step forward with the release last week of a major government report into age verification technology. You might have missed the news on that because of all the other news that was going on last week, but it's really important. The Age Assurance Technology Trial, it was called, and it was a trial that tested a range of different methods to keep young people off platforms, the under 16s. They trialled selfie-based age checks, ID verification, parental consent, and even behavioural analysis. The report found that the tools can work privately and efficiently, sometimes, but no single method is foolproof, meaning companies will need to use multiple approaches to enforce the government's under 16 ban. The trial uncovered some very serious challenges. It seems that these age estimation tools wound up misclassifying about 8% of 16-year-olds as being younger than they actually are, which would mean they'd be banned when they shouldn't be. And performance slumped sharply in that 16 to 17 age group, which is exactly the age group where you need it to be working. The technology also showed lower accuracy for, get this, non-Caucasian people and for females generally. Somebody put this age verification software through some woke sensitivity training quickly. It's hilarious. The report from the trial has left the final decisions to government about what technology should be used. Oh, that should work well. Now, Albanese and his team will have to decide which methods will be mandatory and how the tough enforcement will be managed and how tough it'll actually be. The ban was supposed to start on December 10. We'll see how that goes. Over the coming months, detailed regulations are going to be written to define exactly how platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat and X have got to check their users' ages. And from December, any company that fails to take, quote, reasonable steps to block under 16s could face penalties of up to $49 million or higher, depending on their revenue. Oversight will fall to everyone's favourite bureaucrat, the eSAFETY Commissioner, who will monitor compliance and investigate breaches. This is going to be splendid. The problem with all of this outsourcing of parental and teacher authority and the responsibility, of course, is that everyone will have to do these age checks. It won't just be the young adults and teenagers, it'll be you and me and everybody. And that is going to create a lovely database of all of our faces and our driver's licenses and addresses and names and phone numbers and emails and God knows what else. And of course, our social media accounts, which is what this is really all about, making shows like this much more difficult to produce and put to air and making people's social media comments very hard to do privately. Joining me to discuss all the pitfalls is the co-founder and director of the Free Speech Union of Australia, Reuben Kirkham. Reuben, thanks for joining us on the other side again. Interesting report. What was your take on it all?
Well, it's a very iffy report. It exaggerates the performance of these technologies. And there is a reason for this. The government story is going to be, well, if you're over 20, you're not going to be affected by this because all that's going to happen is that you run it on your device, no one sees your face, and it confirms you're over 20. But really, this is an excuse for them to use more intrusive measures that are not privacy sensitive. And the measures of privacy were basically self-assessments of the technology companies that are trying to sell age verification. Most of the people involved in this study don't seem to have relevant qualifications. One of the main leaders has a degree in equine studies. And I don't think we're looking at horse ages as part of this trial. Maybe I'm wrong. Another has a degree in classics. The list goes on. And one of the qualified people said, this is nonsense, I'm quitting, which gives you some idea about the study. But the idea
so what do you think's really going on? I mean, you're saying, just to explain for people how it works, because if you're over 20 and you prove, there's like going to be two levels of checking. So if you can prove that you're over 20, you don't have to go to the second level of checking, which has to prove whether you're over 16. Is that right?
Well, exactly. That's what they're saying, right? But the first level doesn't work anything like as well as they say it does. And there's a reason why they're talking about non-Caucasian people, right? They've not tested this on Indigenous people properly, as far as we can tell, and so the performance on Indigenous people of disabled people is likely to be particularly bad, and they're particularly likely to be being intrusively ID'd under their system. So all they've shown is they've got no evidence that these technologies actually really work. That would be the conclusion that I would take away from it. They spent $6.5 million on a Duff study run by many people who are associated with Ofcom. So some of the people involved are former Ofcom staffers.
Hang on, just explain what Ofcom is. That now you're a Brit, obviously by nationality, by your accent, but Ofcom is the Office of Communications in the UK, right? And they're responsible for monitoring all media and giving people licenses and giving people, and then they have social media controls as well. They're the eSAFETY Commission as well.
Yes, and ACMA rolled into one. And they have the Online Safety Act in the UK, which has been shown to be a complete disaster. So some of the same people involved in that were involved in this trial. And the data that they did publish, you look at the qualitative studies of their mystery shopping study, pretty much all the people who've tried it have panned it.
Wow.
And they haven't said that. So nothing works. That's all it tells you, really.
So what were some of the qualitative, do you know some of the qualitative comments that came out of that study, like people who were panning it?
People think, what the hell is this? I don't want to use it. It's not for me. And I don't think this is going to work for my privacy, and it's not easy to use. Surprise. Because, of course, these are all poorly thought through prototype systems that don't actually work.
Yeah, right. Well, the mainstream media seem to be committed to the idea that we've got to have this technology to protect people under 16 from potential social harm online. I believe that parents and teachers could do that with a little bit more enforcement of restriction of social media activity without having to go to the government for this. There are conspiracy theorists and tinfoil hat theories about the fact that the government is trying to get a database of everybody. It's hard to dismiss those theories as wacky conspiracies, though, sometimes when you think about how this will actually be rolled out. What are your fears about how this data could be misused?
Well, it's not about misuse of data. It's about essentially what they're trying to do is dissuade people from having conversations online, right? That's what it's about. It's about the chilling effect. It's about you're going to be ID'd every time you want to log into X. Well, that's going to put people off, right? And people are not going to be a bit more circumspect with what they say online. It's about slowly, basically attacking the internet. And as for the kids,
so you can't be private online. You can't have a private go. I mean, obviously now, if the police wanted to trace somebody back, they could, no matter what your name is on X, right? If they want to work out who's behind the account, they can probably do that.
They basically want to control what's going on the internet. They also want to make it harder for people to access content that's critical of the government, one imagines. And they just don't like social media because it serves as an alternative to the mainstream. You have to ask them what they are thinking in passing this legislation, or what they were thinking. Some of them weren't thinking properly, but the ones that were thinking, oh, yes, I don't like this internet. What can I do to censor it? And their claims about protecting children, I mean, this is not going to protect children. This is going to be terrible for children because some parents might actually believe that their kids are being protected, or they're going to supervise them less. But also, if you start with these blocks, people are just going to get VPNs, which is the whole laughable thing about this. It's just going to slow down accessing the internet because everyone's going to exit their internet connections in places like America, where it's going to be a bit more convenient to access the internet. But you're going to have kids switching from relatively reputable platforms to, say, something run in Russia with no safeguards.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to make it's the opposite of online safety.
You got indirectly mentioned in Parliament by the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago, I understand. What was all that about?
Well, they were upset about a tool that was used to make freedom of information requests to the eSAFETY Commissioner by concerned members of the public who wanted to know if she was spying on them. And that included members of Parliament, Australian lawyers. They filled out the form, and what we were expecting was them to have nothing, so it would take them 5 minutes to respond. But there are people who had like 9,000 pages of documents, and some of the replies were, "We've actually got so much on you, we can't give it you because it's too much work to redact it." So the eSafety Commissioner was completely improperly hoovering up all these people's personal information. Then when they asked for it using our form, it created a whole pile of work for the eSafety Commissioner's office, partly because of how utterly incompetent they are. They don't know how to actually search their own systems properly. At one point, I had to have a call with them to explain how our computer worked. I kid you not.
Oh my God. So you bogged them in all of that, bogged them down in all of that. Well, they bogged themselves down in all that paperwork with their own rules and regulations. They had to respond. The Prime Minister is saying that was an unfair attack on the agency. Was that what he's sort of getting at in Parliament?
Oh, he was ranting. Apparently, we were using some sort of AI system. We were not. It was like a 90s web form. 1990s technology. He's only just about caught up to that.
And he was saying you were using AI, artificial intelligence, to come after the eSafety Commission.
Oh, that might be our next goal. Don't get me wrong. It might be worth us doing that. Now he suggests that possibility.
Thanks for the tip, Ian.
Yeah. But no, this is a very simple form. It shows you that a very simple form made in about a day was able to shut down areas of the eSafety Commissioner's office. Well, that just shows they've got no idea about the technology that they are regulating. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right. Might be a good thing.
They are clueless. I mean, they are utterly clueless. And for the Prime Minister and the Attorney General to be repeating the eSafety Commissioner's conspiracy theories in Parliament, hopefully they will learn something from this. Hopefully they might finally wake up and realise that Miss Inman Grant has no qualifications to be doing any of this.
Ruben, anything else you want to add before we wrap up this week?
Yes, we will have our campaign going. So if you're unhappy about the age verification bill, last time there was over 10,000 people who put submissions in when they gave us 24 hours. This time they're very generously giving people 3 weeks, so you can actually write something. But we will be running our campaign to it, and we hope many people will tell Parliament, we do not want this. And we're going to make it easy for you. And hopefully that doesn't upset Albo too much.
And it's freespeechunion.au if people want to get in touch. freespeechunion.au, no .com there, just Free Speech Union spelt out and then .au. Ruben Kirkham, thank you very much for joining us on the other side once again.
Pleasure. Thank you.
If you like The Other Side, one of the best ways you can support us is by signing up for the products of our sponsors. And one of our best sponsors is PIA VPN, the virtual private network that stops people spying on your internet activity. It'll keep you and your family truly safe from the prying eyes of big governments and corporations without slowing down your internet speeds. And you can watch Netflix or other streaming services using your regular accounts with them as if you're viewing from any country in the world. You can sign up for less than $3 a month and get a whopping 83% off the normal price. Just go to piavpn.com/otherside to sign up and you'll get the discount. And you'll get more info on those special deals if you check it out. That's piavpn.com/otherside. That was a segment clip from our weekly Friday night news show, The Other Side, which you can watch in full by simply going to YouTube and searching up The Other Side Australia. Then you'll find our full shows playlist. You can also find all of our full shows and our segments on our own website, othersidetv.com.au. That's othersidetv.com.au. Help us build a whole new Aussie media by joining us over there and signing up for the exclusive side.